So I was originally going to do a video on just this article, but I don't need to because the director of the game series decided to come out and defend it himself, and he has some really awesome takes. He's out there slamming NPCs like crazy, and it's a beautiful thing. So I definitely want to highlight that. But here's the thing with God of War. So PS4 God of War came out like what, 2 years ago? Great game, by the way. Awesome game. Probably one of the best games on the system. And in my opinion, the best game in the series. Because it took the series in a new direction in a lot of ways. Because if you've played the old God of Wars, they're big button mashers. And while they're fun games, that's not my favorite type of gameplay. God of War on PS4, though, is. That's a great game. But unfortunately, crazy NPC Puritans decided to, of course, try to dissect that game in their own weird ways because, well, they don't seem to understand how when you get older and if you have kids, you change as a person and kind of, grow and so on and so on. Well, at least if you're healthy, you do. And they decided to make that seem like, well, now he's not a toxic man and all this stuff. It's really strange. So they've been out there using this game to push their weird little agendas, and it would seem that the director, he doesn't quite care for that. And he's been firing back at them, saying Kratos was never a misogynist, which I agree with. Let's get into this.
Our time has come. For 300 years, we prepared, we grew stronger. While you rested in your cradle of power.
So the big thing with God of War that these Puritans are always going after is that famous scene where you're first playing the game and Kratos is with two ladies and you do a mini game and you collect health orbs during it, by the way. It's really funny, okay? And you get an achievement when you're done. And to the normal person, that's funny. It's just a joke. It's just a joke, man. But of course, the NPC Puritans, they have problems with things like that. And they call it misogynistic and toxic to do that. Failing to see the point where this was all, done with consent and everybody was clearly having a good time. I don't understand how that's toxic. Now, it would be toxic if he were to forced his way into that situation, but that's not what happened. Everything was being enjoyed by everybody there. So it's not really a bad thing. But of course, these Puritans see dudes hooking up with women in any regards whatsoever as toxic. And that's kind of the problem. Just hooking up is toxic. And that's really the issue with these people. That's why I like to call a lot of them Puritans, is because, well, they have a problem with big boos and stuff like that. So it's kind of a problem in itself. And they want to use their platforms to kind of push stupid takes like that, and that helps somewhat influence people. That's why we have so many of these dummies. So the director of the game took to Twitter to give his opinion. He said, I must continually state that Kratos was never a misogynist in God of War 1, like at all. And it ticks me off. Journalists continue to retcon the game in order to justify the thesis of their God of War 2018 stories. And then he linked the article there. So then some clown's going to eventually come in there and start arguing with him. But he says this first. Let me be super clear, in case it wasn't. Me putting the word journalist in quotes implies the guy sucks at his job. I think based on this article that he does. Don't worry, David. I don't think anyone disagrees with you. The guy definitely does suck at his job. But here's the thing. Most people in game journalism suck at their jobs. I mean, go watch them play video games where they can't even do jumps, or they're like falling off, or they're like sitting there shooting a wall. Like, they're obviously not gamers. Most of them are just using their positions to try to get to an outlet they really want to be in, or so they can co-op nerd culture. That's really what's going on there. None of them are real journalists, and that's a fact. That's 100% a fact. So Andy, the return is here broski, comes in and says, isn't the first minigame you double-teaming a couple of ladies off-screen? Exactly. Then this is the point they always make. That's toxic. And David comes right in with the dunk and says, yup, although A, If it were double teaming, wouldn't that be 2 guys and 1 lady? Your term, so you tell me. B, how is having a 3-way misogynistic? And that's a really good point that I said at the beginning of the video. How is that misogynistic? Everyone's having a good time. No one was made to do it. Why is that toxic? Okay, if everybody's having a good time, what's the big deal? This is the thinking of the Puritan. Okay, they see everything. You're not supposed to hook up with the opposite gender. That is toxic all the way through. And that's literally what they've all been pushing forever. Like it's bad to do that. It's bad to even go approach a lady. You can't even go say hi to them. You've seen that Gillette commercial. Remember the Gillette commercial for razors? The Gillette razor commercial that's supposed to appeal to men decided to put a video out showing a guy try to approach a woman and then some other dude comes up and stops him like, whoa, bro. You're not even allowed to go talk to them kindly and friendly. That's toxic. That's misogynistic. This is literally the thinking of the NPC Puritan. That's why I call them NPC Puritans. So he doubles down on this. He says, okay, I'll explain. It's deeply misogynistic to have the first 2 women you see in the game be little objects that you can beat with a button mashing combo. It's a depiction of women that is objectively and intended for the male gaze. Quite literally misogynistic. So he comes in and says, in the game, in that very scene, Kratos writes in his journal about how he's losing himself in wine and meaningless hookups to numb his pain. The character may not respect women. I would not be so sure about that, he puts in parentheses, but the game certainly does. Also, looking at a woman as a actual being and only a actual being in the act of having hookups with them, not out in the world, is not misogynistic when you get it on. In between every few thrusts, are you telling her how smart she is and how much you love her cooking? Sometimes it's okay, quite healthy even, to just hook up with people. And I 100% agree. But see, you can't reason with people like this, okay? Because I don't think this guy is hooking up with people. I'm just going to be honest here. Don't think that that's really happening. I see that he's a radio host and an angry leftist. So naturally, I don't see children coming from this genetic line or anything like that. And puts out articles like this. I was a cable guy and I saw the worst of America. So you're arguing with an NPC journalist. So it's not really going to go anywhere. This is a dead end. This is a dead end argument. But I appreciate the content for the channel. I really do. So he made a good point. It's not toxic. Okay? It's healthy to hook up. Okay? That's what people do. Almost you could say that the survival of the species depends on it. But that's not the way that the NPC Puritans see it. There's literal arguments that a dude and a dude can have a baby right now. So, I mean, there's not really much dialogue to be had here. So, anyway, his rebuttal here, to keep the comparison going, whereas in God of War 2018, the first female you see is a strong, individualistic, multi-layered character that seems to have her own aims and motives. The original God of War is a literal marvel, but it is deeply misogynistic. David strikes back, says, well, I just told you how it wasn't. You can think it is, and that's fine. I respect your view, even though I think you are recalling it wrong. But you rebutting my examples by simply restating your view doesn't change my mind. He says, your example makes them more misogynistic. They are just pawns for Kratos to beat in order to convey this feeling you're suggesting. I think it's you are suggesting there. This guy's a journalist, by the way, games journalist. But I do believe it's you are suggesting. I'm just saying. Objectifying not with agency, literal tools, and they are tools simply because they are women who can bang. I don't know how else to explain it. And then David fires back. By your logic, every character in a story must not only have their own detailed backstory, but that backstory must be conveyed in the telling. Utterly ridiculous, and 90% of stories would fail your test, not including what you feel you need for something to not be misogynistic is not the same at all as a story that contains misogynistic elements. I'm done with the discussion. Of course, I support your right to have an opinion, even though I think it's terribly incorrect. Stay healthy out there, sir. Ends it with a nice little thing. So, I find it funny how far these people will go to push these narratives. And I'm glad that David stood up for himself and didn't bend the knee. It's nice, and I would like to see more of that, to be honest, because the only way to shut up these people is to do stuff like that. Okay, and you have to support them because these people run the games media, and they'll sit there and they'll probably cancel him. I would expect to see about 40 articles now. Probably you're going to see some from IGN. You're going to see some from CBR for sure, probably by that Anthony guy. I'm sure he'll do an article on that real fast. You're going to see one from, for sure, Polygon and Kotaku. They're probably going to go after David now because hooking up is wrong and it's toxic. Okay, you're not supposed to hook up. It's going to be like have you ever seen Demolition Man? All right, you should go watch that. Or was it Judge Dredd? I forget. But in one of them, Stallone hooks up with, I forget her name already, Sandra Bullock. But first off, instead of them actually hooking up, they're like wearing like VR headsets and stuff. It's really strange. And he's like, what the hell is this? It's a really funny scene. That's literally what these people want. Okay, that's where they want things to go. It's very strange, but this is the mind, and this is the mind of thinking that these people have, and that's where they want to push society. And it's disgusting, and most normal people don't want it, and most normal people don't agree with anything these game journalists have to say. Unfortunately for them, no one's reading their articles. I think the only people that do are YouTubers that make fun of them because their websites have to borrow money all the time to stay afloat, and they're literally on the verge of getting canceled all the time. So it's only a matter of time till all these websites go under, and then maybe we can get some normalcy back in gaming because most people go to, YouTubers for gaming news. I know I go watch like Yang Ye and stuff if I want to get game industry news. I don't go to IGN. I haven't went to IGN in forever. And I think that's most people. You used to need to go to these websites because you would want to see what, a game developer had to say. Now, in most cases, you can just go to Twitter and follow them directly and hear what they have to say. So it makes places like Inverse here obsolete. It really does. So anyway, that's it, guys. Go give David Scott Jaffe, go give him a follow and a like on his tweets. Like, he deserves it for standing up to these clowns. Anyway, like, subscribe, leave me your comments. Let me know what you're thinking about all this. Share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out. Also, take a moment. Make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. There's something going on right now, and they've been unsubscribing people. So just take a second and double check on that and subscribe if you're new.